things that we sometimes forget to talk about, and I want to talk about those now. The first one seems dumb, but it's one of the biggest ones. You've got to give yourself permission to succeed. You've actually got to give yourself, you just raised your hands that you want to be wealthy. You've got to give yourself permission to be wealthy. You've got to embrace wealth. There's a lot of negative connotations that come with that we've been taught all our life. First, on the success thing, ever since you're a little kid, people tell you what you can and can't do. Can't do it. You can tell I'm from Texas. Can't, fixing to. Y'all just learn the new language, okay?
That's it.
They pay us anyway. But there's a tendency when you're approached, for instance, about Emmett, to say, well, it all looks great, and obviously mathematically it's perfect. But it sure will work for him or her or Michelle or somebody, but it probably won't work for me. You've got to get over that, or if you think it won't work for you, you're probably right. You're probably right. So you've got to embrace that success and plant your flag that I'm going to be successful. You know, it's like when Rose and I were talking, I said when she came to California, at this island of California, you need to get off, step on the island, turn around, and burn the boat. There is no turn back. If you started Ambit Energy, you need to commit that not only are you going to be here, but you're going to do it and become successful. Now, there's a lot of people that teach affirmations where they say things like, I'm a national consultant in Ambit Energy and I make $1 million a year. If I was a beginner saying that, I'd have this little man on my shoulder saying, no, you're not, you're lying. No, you're not, you're lying. Well, but what you can do is get up every morning and say, I'm going to do everything it takes to build my success, and because of that someday, I will be retired from my job. I will have a life of freedom. And at lunchtime, say that again into the rearview mirror. When you're going to lunch at night before you go to bed, you got to ask yourself, if everybody on my team did what I did today, would I be getting closer to my goals or further from it? Because I'm going to make sure tomorrow I do a better job. So you've got to make that huge commitment, but a belief in success. Now on the wealth side, I know I was raised, my dad drove a train for a living, his dad drove a train and was a farmer for a living. Wealth was not something that ran in our family. I should probably give you all a minute here. Everybody just take a few seconds and think about whether you have any rich ancestors that are going to solve that for you. Okay, now we'll move on, right? I knew that wasn't happening, and the problem is I grew up the same as many of you where they said things about rich people. For instance, they would say things like, oh, they inherited it. Those rich people, like, nobody ever did anything at one point in time. It just, the money tree came out or something and they inherited it. And it's true, a lot of the wealthy people, most of the wealthy people in America, frankly, did inherit it. But somebody took a chance, did things different, worked harder, worked smarter, and it was more valuable and made more money happen. So we need to realize that and banish that from our thinking. Another thing people say a lot, and in my family they used to say, oh, those people just got lucky. Like they were just walking through the tree-lined street, Hey, look, there's money on that tree, I know for one thing I found is the harder I work, the luckier I get. And I wouldn't count on luck in this business. One of the beautiful things about our industry is everybody has a chance to get lucky. You might sponsor one person who sponsors one other one, who's the next queen of network marketing, and you can just be forever saying how awesome you are. But I wouldn't count on that. Instead, what you can count on is if you show it to more people, and you have a team that ends up showing it to more people, and you focus on building leadership and more people in your organization helping them rise, you'll eventually have success whether you get lucky or not. That thinking that all money comes from luck was another thing that just got advantage from your thinking. And the big one in my house was somehow that there was something wrong with money. They say, oh, well, those people are crooked. As if there's something wrong with being wealthy. I mean, my family and other friends I had would say, well, and you see that in everyday life where people talk bad about rich people. Like they did something evil to get there. But I got a clue I learned a while back, and I'll give you some book streets, but one clue I learned is that if you want to make more money, you want to attract more money, you have to become more valuable. You have to become more valuable to others. And you do that through personal development study. You get better at understanding EBIT. You understand the comp plan better. You get better at following our simple system, but at the same time, You're reading Steve Siebold, How Rich People Think. You're reading Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You're reading a lot of the great information that's out there, because if you don't become more valuable, you either won't get the money, or if it comes, it won't stick around. I do highly recommend that book called How Rich People Think by Steve Siebold. That was a great one for me. He's a researcher. He interviewed hundreds of millionaires. He said everything from billionaires down to common everyday millionaires. What's a common everyday millionaire? I'll start there. That's fine. But he said he wanted to see that, and he did learn that there's a common denominator. There's one thing that all wealthy people share. They think differently than middle-income people. Now, he didn't talk about the poor, because it's hard to go from poor to wealthy. You got to first get off, thinking poor and realize that middle society is a place that just divides the poor from whether or not they work. You've got to go do that. But once you get to that stage, it's just horribly hard to go for most people from middle class to wealthy unless you change your thinking. So I really recommend that book, because he talks about things like, and I don't want to wear it out on the book and take the book from you, but one of the biggest things that stuck out to me is every time a wealthy person gets ready to buy something, they think about how it will affect their assets in the future. Whereas a middle class person, where I came from, you think about how it's going to make you feel. Little things like that. Read that book, Steve Siebold. He's got a website that's free. It's a great place to learn from a lot of different leaders. It's called Mental Toughness. I'll talk about you have to develop mental toughness, and that's going to be my next topic in a minute. And so you've got to get rid of those and say, you know what? By the way, being rich is a good thing. What do you think the really wealthy people do with their money? Give it away. That's what the really rich people do. And I can tell you from just my low level in it, I gave more money to charity last year than I have in the 50 years leading up to that. And I don't need the applause for being a nice guy. It's a lot easier to give it away for two reasons. One, I got more of it. But more importantly, once you realize that all you have to do to get more money is go help more people and give value, and the money just comes, it becomes easier to just give it away. Give it away. I mean, there's just a lot of things in life that you can do with money. And I quote a lot of times, I tell people I'm not that deep. I do quote Kiyosaki and Siebold, but I also quote Billy Gibbons, lead guitar player with ZZ Top. Billy said, money won't buy happiness, but it'll put you in a real fine car and you pull right up next to happiness on the freeway. Sounds shallow, but the depth of that is money buys options. Money buys choices in life. Your income, if you have children, your income determines their outcome. It's where they grow up, who they go to school with, what schools they go to, all their associations. So if you're thinking money doesn't matter, you probably shouldn't have had kids, because they'll think it matters. And unless you have a rich parent, the only thing I can suggest, the best thing is you need to become a rich parent. You become the wealthy parent, and the way we start that is we teach our children along the way, teach them to think like wealthy people instead of thinking like middle class or poor people. Now, so that's the first thing. Give yourself permission to succeed and be wealthy and be successful. And then you just expect it. Now, I don't want anything to ever happen to Ambit, and I don't mean to talk gloom, but if Ambit exploded during the night and the Martians took it off somewhere and it didn't exist anymore, I would get up tomorrow and know that I can go do it again. Because I now understand the process of becoming more valuable, helping more people, and making more money. And once you have that, there's nothing. Now, after you learn that part, step one, the rest of it's just a process. Just learning the skills. And you're getting all the skills today. The second one is the main reason most people don't join Ambit, and it's why most people quit. And I mean they quit right away. It's fear of failure. Fear of rejection. When you're talking to people, realize that that's what they're afraid of, is they're afraid of failing in the business. Once you're in the business, your biggest fear is being rejected by the people that you ask to look at it. Now, there's something substantial about that. And I'll talk about that, but first, you got to realize that you cannot succeed except through failure. That was a tough one for me. You can't succeed your way to success. You have to fail your way to success. And it's not failure as long as you get back up, learn from it, and go on and become more valuable and do more. It's a stair step to success. Where they say guy that invented the electric light bulb, you know, he said he invented 2,783 wrong ways to make a light bulb first. You know, I don't know what the numbers are on that, but what it's all about is know that you've got to fail to succeed and get ready for failure. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, how many people have gone to their closest friends and family, and you know why we tell you to talk to them first? Get the rejection out of the way. You're used to it right away. I mean, you'll hear things like, that won't work, those deals never work. I know people went to jail for that. I know people lost their home doing that. You know, I know y'all's real estate's been in a downturn in California, but I haven't seen a $429 house yet, right? So I'm sure what they're losing. They just can't know what they do not know, but rejection's a normal thing. And I just want to share with you the real numbers in our business. I've been in this 6 years, I've been in network marketing 20 years. As good as you can get at this, 7 or 8 out of every 10 people you ask to look at Emmett are going to say no. They have no idea what they're saying. It's like, you know, it doesn't matter that they don't know, they're just going to say no. You've got to be prepared for that. Otherwise, no's will take you out of business, because how many people in here have children? What's the #1 word you say the most to your children? So by the time you're an adult, you just don't want to hear it anymore, right? But if you don't want to hear it, you're not going to gain anything. So you got to step out of your comfort circle and say, I'm going to go hear no's. Now here's the statistics again. 7 or 8 out of every 10 are going to tell you no, that they won't even look. 2 out of every 10 you ask are going to say they'll look. One of them's lying to you. They won't really. So probably only 1 out of 10 is going to look. So we tell you just ask 2 people a day, 5 days a week. That's 10 people a week to take a look at it. If you ask that, you're going to have 2 people a week say, yes, I'll look. One of them will. Every 2 weeks, you'll be sponsoring at least 1 person, because 1 out of every 2 people that takes a good look at this joins. So you're sponsoring somebody every 2 weeks. You're a regional consultant in a month or so. In 2 or 3 months, you're a senior consultant. In 6 months to a year, you're retired. You're an executive consultant living your dreams.